Christmas time is here. Happiness and cheer. Since I was so delighted to get 200 subscribers, I offered a few of the people that helped me cross that line custom videos of their own, not as part of a contest or anything like that. One individual who goes by TheBANGORBOB asked me to make a video about a film that, as it happens, is one of my favorite holiday films. It is about friendship, partnering together in times of adversity. It's about family, marriage in particular, and some of the struggles that occur when career gets in the way. It's about overcoming obstacles, particularly broken glass when you have no shoes to wear. I speak, of course, of Die Hard, one of the great alternative Christmas movies ever made. Alternative Christmas movies are movies that are set around the holidays but aren't necessarily what you would call a Christmas-themed film. Gremlins, Lethal Weapon, Batman Returns, these are alternative Christmas movies. But Die Hard is the king amongst them. And like most other alternative Christmas movies, it didn't come out around the Christmas season. It came out during the summer. Those of you who know, I'm quite certain that every single one of you watching this is familiar with the plot of this movie. I want to show you something real quick. I have here queued up on my set a shot from the film. Back in 1988, when this movie was released, laser discs and widescreen editions were not real popular. So a shot like this basically starts on the right-hand side as Alan Rickman approaches the model of the building. And then what they call pan and scan scans over to this side to show what he's looking at, and then he goes back again like that. Thank goodness for widescreen editions and DVDs and high-resolution videos, so we don't have to deal with pan and scan cropped version of movies like that any longer. Die Hard is one of the most well-shot widescreen movies that I've ever seen. Frame composition is just ruined by the cropping of home video, VHS, cable, stuff like that. Nowadays they show a lot of stuff at widescreen on cable. What else can I say about this movie? When this movie came out in the theaters, people would go and see it, and they reacted like nothing. And I had like nothing that had ever come out before. It was a madhouse, apparently. A friend of mine went to see it at least 9 times in the theater, and every single time people would react vocally to everything that happened. Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show or something like that. I, unfortunately, was not ballsy enough to go and see this movie in the theater. It would be another 2 years before I turned 17, and so apparently, I missed out on that, unfortunately. It's probably goes without saying that before the 1970s, the definitive American film genre was the Western, and around the 70s, 80s, the definitive American film genre became the cop film. Movies about cops hunting bad guys, feds hunting bad guys, what have you. And what's great about Die Hard, in addition to just being a really terrific action thriller, is that it very neatly combines the Western and the cop movie. The story and the characters are very much out of a classic Western story, but it's set in the present. McClane, of course, is trying to rescue his wife. The bad guy is holding her captive. There's a robbery involved. There's a big, sort of a quick draw showdown at the end, stuff like that. But of course, everybody's talking to each other on CB radios and cell phones and stuff like that, like in a modern film. And of course, they have machine guns and helicopters and all kinds of neat stuff. The music in this movie is by Michael Kamen. It is one of the great one of the greatest action movie scores. Before there was Hans Zimmer and all of his amazing scores, there was Michael Kamen, who scored the Lethal Weapon movies and the Die Hard movies and a bunch of other good stuff as well. I especially like the way that he incorporates jingle bells into the music during that classic showdown. And at that point, actually, in the film, during that sequence, there's one of my favorite edits in any film, which I won't describe if you haven't seen it, but please see this movie. It's very soon. You really must. It's Christmas Eve. It's the perfect day to see Die Hard, But one minor character is referring to the possible, to the condition of a potential hostage in this cutaway. It's just a quick shot that goes to him for like 2 seconds and then back to the action again. For those of you who've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But it's just one of the all-time great cutaways. It's very, very snappy and very funny and exciting. The whole movie is really exciting. Oh, and can I just say, Alan Rickman, okay? I know almost all of you know him best probably as Professor Snape. And as a matter of fact, a friend of mine who was a fan of Harry Potter, before the first film came out, he was talking with me about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard about, casting. I was talking to him about casting because I read about it. And he says, oh, can you tell me who's playing Snape? And I'm like, well, it's Alan Rickman. And he went, no way, Alan Rickman is the absolute perfect person to play Snape. Just love the guy. He's so eloquent, and just his voice is just amazing. It's fantastic. It's really, really exciting. And of course, this movie made Bruce Willis a huge star. And I think probably this is one of the biggest blockbusters he's ever been in. I mean, the Die Hard movies in general. The only movie that's made, I think, more money than any of the Die Hard movies for Bruce Willis is The Sixth Sense, which is ironic because it's not an action movie. The director is John McTiernan. The director is in lots of trouble now. He got involved in some kind of tax scam or something involving wiretapping or some sort of, I don't know, it's a tax thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but he's like in prison right now. He hasn't made a good movie in a really long time anyway. And the last movie I think that he directed was Rollerball, the remake of Rollerball with Chris Klein and Rebecca Romaine Stamos. Oh man, I watched that movie. It was horrible. It's really funny. He's one of those directors whose movies are either really great or they're terrible, just awful. There's no in between. His good movies, of course, include Die Hard, Hunt for Red October, Predator, and the remake of the Thomas Crown Affair with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo. That was also quite good. On the bad side, he's directed Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is basically Bruce Willis playing his last Boy Scout character instead of John McClane from Die Hard, because he's drunk and he's just kind of a mess. He also directed Last Action Hero, which is terrible, and of course Rollerball, and at least one other movie. Oh, Medicine Man. Medicine Man's a Sean Connery movie that really didn't go over so well. I hardly remember what it's about. As far as the other Die Hard movies go, Die Hard 2 is pretty good. Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance, with Samuel Jackson, Jeremy Irons, not so good. Live Free or Die Hard, I don't really have anything positive to say about that one. Some of it is okay. I like Justin Long a lot. Justin Long's a fun guy. But I almost resisted going to see that movie in the theater just because I'd read about them cutting it down to a PG-13 and re-editing it so there wasn't as much swearing in it. If you know McClane's signature phrase, you're like, what the heck is this? Why would they cut that out just so they could get a PG-13 rating? Luckily, there's an unrated version of it on disc, so you can watch it the way it's supposed to be, the way they intended to do to shoot it, but then Fox decided to cut it so they could make more money. That's how it is these days, They always do stuff like that. So, Bonnie Bedelia plays Bruce Wilson's wife, and I wasn't big on her at first. Now she's okay. I just think some of her reaction shots are kind of bland. I don't entirely blame her at all. But yeah, incredible photography, really clever editing, great music, great action. You know, it isn't action packed the way a lot of action movies are. In fact, it takes a while for things really to get rolling. There's a lot of just sort of dialogue scenes at the beginning as all the characters kind of move into place. But you know, there's no beating Alan Rickman, and there's no beating just as far as, you know, Christmas movies that are not It's a Wonderful Life or what have you. You know, it's great. It's terrific, and a classic, a modern classic of escapist cinema. So there's your video, sir. And can I just say, the Bangorbob, how nice to make your acquaintance. Merry Christmas, everyone. Oh, one more thing. Tomorrow's Christmas morning, I'll be announcing the winners of the contest, and you have all today to enter if you still want to. Links in the description. Take it easy.